It's great to be back at Quantum to Business. We're sort of a regular guest here, and my name is Freeke Heijman. I'm the founding director of Quantum Delta Netherlands. And last year when we were here, I talked about the qubits coming from Delft, from the Netherlands, to several hardware platforms that are developed. And this year we would like to focus on the startup ecosystem. Because here in the Netherlands and in Europe and globally, a lot of companies are starting out, and we have some great examples to show you and also some new data to share. So this is the way we look at the ecosystem. So we are trying to develop a public-private ecosystem to build the entire stack, because we believe that it's just too early in the market to take up the whole challenge of quantum computing as a company on its own. Because we think that through the entire stack, from the quantum processor all below, the qubits, the cryogenics, the interconnects, and all the way up to the quantum algorithms, there's both science to be done and also engineering to be done, and also room for startups and venturing. So let me introduce the speakers, the panelists that I brought with me to talk to you about this. And we have Benno Broer, who is the founder of Q&Co, a software company based in Amsterdam. We have Adriaan Rol, who is co-founder of Orange Quantum Systems, which is a system integration company in Delft. And we have Ton van het Noordende, who's a private investor and is working for Quantum Delta Netherlands also to look at the VC market. So Adriaan, maybe start with you. Orange Quantum Systems, founded in 2020, a spin out of QTech, focus on system integration, so more or less the entire stack. What is your strategy for the market and your role in the ecosystem?
Thank you, Freeke. Well, I think that you gave a very good introduction to what one of our core premises is. And if you think about our company, I think we are unique in two ways. And one of them is, although we are a systems integrator who in the end strives to deliver a complete system, today we are also focusing not on the entire system as a monolith, but rather we are working on different subparts of the system. We're very open to innovation and collaboration with different parties because we believe both that the market is too early to deliver the end product, namely the useful quantum computer, but also it opens up a lot of opportunities for collaborations and people to focus on their individual expertises. Now, the other thing that we've identified is that there's also a market already for this. So even though there's no useful quantum computer yet, and you need a lot of investment to push technology to that level, we find that we can already do business and work on essentially the glue of the system. So that's both the system integration as well as the software responsible for characterization and calibration. And with our partners, we can do that. We can already deliver part of the systems or focus on subparts of it. So that's rather unique. And I think that that also feeds in probably to the next part where, because one of the parties we also work with together is Q&Co and also a lot of the other parties both in the Netherlands and outside of it. So that would be sort of our strategy to build this value chain.
Okay. Here, so actually your company on your own, but you also work with Benno, who has another company based in Amsterdam. So maybe Benno, can you tell us a bit about what Q&Co is doing as a software company, and what is your take on this ecosystem and collaboration in the stack?
Yeah, thanks, Freeke, for that question, and for, of course, inviting me to this panel. Our company, Q&Co, is what you would call a quantum application developer. So in the picture that you showed in the beginning, we will be at the top of that stack. And meaning that our quantum developers work closely together with our corporate clients and our academic advisors, but also the rest of the players in that stack to develop novel quantum algorithms. And one example of this is, for instance, the recent breakthrough we made in our research, where we were able to develop the first quantum algorithm, which promises a generic and efficient way to solve nonlinear differential equations, even with near-term quantum processors. And we believe that this algorithm offers great promise for solving industry-relevant problems, like, for instance, in computational fluid dynamics. But of course, we cannot deliver such solutions without collaborations. On the one hand, when we try to implement an algorithm like that, what we need is collaborations with corporate clients to, in the case of this specific algorithm, parameterize it for their industry relevant problems. Where we can only do that if those clients are willing to share their domain expertise and we bring our quantum expertise, and then we work together to create these solutions for their problems. And on the other side, thinking about the rest of the stack and like companies like Adriaan's, for us, it's vitally important to work with these parties in the stack, because at the moment, the success of any quantum algorithm is heavily dependent on the interaction of that algorithm with the specific quantum processors we're using. There's no standardization yet in quantum processors, and therefore each processor has its specific pros and cons in the relationship with the algorithm you try to employ. So as we're hopeful that we will realize industry-relevant quantum advantage with our algorithms, we need to work closely together with the teams who develop and manage these quantum processors to optimize the interplay between algorithm and hardware. So again, for us, collaborations are key to our success, and we're very happy that within the Netherlands and also in the broader sense within the European quantum industry, collaborations are front and center for all players. So thank you.
Okay, thanks. And so collaboration is key, and collaboration with end users and also collaboration with hardware developers or tech providers. So this sounds like a consortium you are working on. Is it like preferred consortia that you have a team of companies and RTOs that you work with, or is it every occasion different partnerships? Maybe Adriaan, what is your view on that? Are you building exclusive relationships, or?
I can definitely comment on that. I think that in order for an ecosystem approach to work, you need to not emulate a monolith. So that means that the collaborations should be open, and that is of course a risk because you're competing with your partners, and also they might go to a different supplier or a different partner. But at the same time, you also build up a relationship, and you can also share these experiences to some extent, because you might learn things about what your interface should look like in order for it to become modular. So for us in particular, we believe in an open innovation. That means we are open to work with any supplier, but it works two ways, because we also need to realize that if someone else does what we do better, that our partners might want to work with different parties as well. And also for getting consortia to work, sometimes you're trying to work for certain clients and they already have a good relationship with one of our suppliers. And that means another supplier cannot be in that particular consortium. So it really requires to be flexible. But we also believe that this is the strength of the whole idea, because the core idea is that every company in itself should be independent and self-sufficient and successful. And then we can build a really robust ecosystem that is modular and really pushes technology to next levels. So that's really it's really open by design, and because we think that's the right approach to this problem.
Okay. And is this something you think is unique for what we are doing here, or you see this happening around on several places?
I think it is not unique in the general sense. It's very similar to an academic approach to things where you can be very open in collaborations. But I do think it's rather unique to do this in a commercial setting, and especially within quantum technologies. And I do believe it also is a thing that can provide us an edge and a way to really provide the added value to the broader community, even the world in this field. So I'm very excited about this approach.
Okay, that's great. So maybe let's go to some data because Ton, you have studied the market for the last couple of months and you are ready to share some data with us about what's going on. So yeah, take it away.
Yeah, fantastic, Freeke, and I'm extremely excited to be here as well today. So I think we can all agree in this conversation and in broader respect that we're gearing up towards global science. And I think and I believe that determining change, or actually determining factors that change of pace. And what I mean with that is that we're not only seeing scientific and academic collaboration happening on a local, regional, and international level, but we're also seeing an emergence of capital, and especially risk capital coming into the market, which actually enables us to grow out a little bit more. And so on behalf of Quantum Delta and as the investor in residence, I'm very pleased to actually present some of the first outcomes of initial readings that we provided. So we've been talking to over 100 deep tech investors that themselves have invested in quantum and enabling technology in the last couple of months. And this is just a start for a thing that we're actually going to announce in just a second as well. But maybe to go into the data itself. So we mapped out and looked at the global space, and it's quite interesting to see. Of course, it's still kind of a small market, but we mapped out 450 companies, including almost 250 deep tech investors that are currently prone to invest or have invested in the quantum technology ecosystem globally. And I think I'd like to actually maybe make a note on a sense of serious optimism, looking at the way that not only we see an increase in deal making happening, so meaning more companies spinning out more research and professors trying to experiment and go through the entrepreneurial journey, but we're also seeing signs of early majority in the market where we see large deals currently being enabled by venture investors across the globe. And maybe to finally note on the initial results, I mean, a successful ecosystem requires a collaboration on all aspects and all levels. And that's actually why it's also really exciting to announce today that we're trying to launch a first start of this project by creating an open source database, not only for the viewers of Q2B, but actually for the global people that are involved from a startup or venture perspective to actually go in, filter, and initiate and find out and see what's actually going on in the space today. So I think Freeke, I'm not sure if I can already allowed to say it, but I think it's time to announce what we're gonna do as a next step. So as I think you mentioned beforehand, Quantum Delta is a foundation that is launched to create a zero barriers, or let's say a zero barriers ecosystem globally as well. Not only fast tracking the Dutch quantum startups and research centers in the market, but we also want to see what's really going on. And as you know, there's a lot of research already being spread on the internet and online, but there's not much knowledge of what deep tech investors currently actually are experiencing and finding. And so today we're announcing the launch of a world's premiere, a state of quantum survey and reports initiated by Quantum Delta with over 500 participants that are going to actually fill in the survey. And it's actually open right now for you as well. The idea, of course, is to get an understanding of the industry from a venture perspective. So, of course, we're looking at the scientific and academic level, and then so does and will the market adopt? And one of the ways to actually conceive that is to see the capital is coming into the market. So the survey is open, actually starting now. And the idea is to actually launch the results. So everyone who's participating will get a premier first access somewhere in Q2 of next year. And of course, before going back to you, Freeke, I just want to leave a note that it's important that we build this open system together. So I encourage you all to go to quantumdelta.nl, State of Quantum, sign up on the waiting list, fill in the survey, and also get first access to our open source database that contains all the information you want to know about startups and venture.
Great, thanks, Tom. And indeed, it's good that you stress that our ambition is to break down barriers. So, build this ecosystem where people and companies can collaborate without barriers. And that is something we would like to contribute to also by bringing out the knowledge and the know how that we have and we are building here to share that with the rest of the world. So, thank you for that. So, well, maybe let's discuss a bit because it's quite interesting what you shared. Like, you see that there's serious optimism, there's a big rise in the venture capital flowing into the market. Um, what can we say about this development? We also see the big tech companies also still in the market. What is your view on what is happening actually?
Well, I
If you
mean,
compare
to be
it,
honest,
for
what you
instance,
still
to other. Mhm.
Yeah, no, of course. I mean, what you can definitely see is if you look at the majority of capital currently being deployed in quantum or enabling technology globally, it's still very much the venture capital, right? So we're not seeing family offices or institutions or pension funds stepping into the game. So it's still very much just a start. But interesting enough, I can even actually say with certain sense of confidence, based on the conversations I had with the world leading deep tech investors already, is that I see a sense of optimism that is unparalleled. If you compare it to example other emerging technologies like blockchain in 2016, and actually that actually might resemble a little bit what quantum was in that day from a venture perspective. Today, it's actually completely the other way around. So, um, what we can expect in the coming 12 to 24 to 36 months is that not only experienced deep tech investors, but also the majority of investors will actually try to make a play, which in the end is good for the global ecosystem because you need more capital coming in, more companies spitting out to actually make the technology work and to build something out.
Great, thanks. And Benno, maybe back to you because you are not only engaging with investors but also with end users, like the industry that needs to use the technology. This serious optimism, is that something you see there as well? Is there a rise of interest? Is there a rise of confidence? Or what is your uh, view on that side of the market?
Yeah, we see a continued strong interest from the end user perspective. I remember being on conferences maybe half a year or a year ago where everybody was sort of predicting a quantum winter. Well, at the moment, I don't see it yet. So that's the positive news. Um, Also, we see that as more interesting breakthroughs are being made, both on the hardware side and the algorithm side, that this indeed draws in more additional corporate interest or interest from end users. So I don't think that we've reached the top of that mountain, if you talk in Gartner hype cycle terms. And let's hope that we can cross that valley of disillusionment without any pain or hurt, and that we end up together in this really wonderful situation where we can show the world that quantum can actually deliver industry relevant quantum advantage that benefits corporates and society at large. But for now, I'm seeing optimism, continued optimism, and good traction in this market. So.
Okay. Thanks. It's good to get a bit more in depth about the challenges ahead and the optimism that there is or not is. And Adriaan, how is that for you? Because you are a spin out of QTech, which was more or less a safe environment of a public research institute, and now you're in the real environment of starting a company. How is that for Orange Quantum Systems? Is there the road ahead? Is it optimistic, or you see challenges of this deep valley?
So I'm absolutely seeing challenges, but mostly I'm super optimistic right now, and that's basically for two reasons. So what Tom just described about the extra funding coming in is good for two reasons. One is that this goes directly to what we see as our potential customers, namely companies RTOs, governments, universities working on this technology, and that means they have budget to acquire our services and products. On the other hand, we also have ambitions to say extend our own research capacities, and knowing that extra funding would be available and would be an option is, of course, a great luxury to have. So both of these things make me very optimistic on crossing the valley of death of deep tech.
Great. Well, I think we're getting to the end of this panel discussion. So I would really like to thank you for being here, and please visit us in our virtual booth also to get the data in more depth. Thanks.
Thank you,
Thank you, Freeke.
Thank you. Bye.